Good morning and welcome back to our news update, coming to you live from Warsaw. I'm Saria Strzemska. And we begin with the latest on Ukraine. Overnight, Russian missiles struck the Kyiv region, killing one person and injuring 11 others. This comes just a day after a major attack on the capital, where 2 people were killed and 38 wounded. Rescue workers evacuated apartments in one high-rise building after fire spread through an upper floor. The head of the regional military administration said a private home was also destroyed in the strike. Meanwhile, Kazakhstan criticized Ukraine on Sunday after one of Russia's largest oil terminals halted operations following a Friday night attack on the Black Sea port of Novorossiysk. Ukrainian naval drones hit 2 sanctioned tankers as they headed to the port, which is operated by the Caspian Pipeline Consortium. And now to President Zelenskyy. On Saturday, he said it is possible to map out a plan to end the war in the coming days. His comments come as a Ukrainian delegation travels to Washington to continue peace talks with U.S. partners and other allies.
This evening, U.S. time, the Ukrainian delegation is expected to arrive in the United States, where the dialogue will continue based on the points agreed upon in Geneva. Diplomacy remains active. The American side is showing a constructive approach, and it is entirely possible to finalize the steps in the coming days to determine how to end the war with dignity. The Ukrainian delegation has all the necessary guidelines, and I expect the team to work according to clear Ukrainian priorities.
This story took a turn almost no one saw coming. Andriy Yermak, Ukraine's now former chief of staff, was expected to fly to Washington to lead peace talks between Russia and Ukraine, but instead, he says he's heading to the front lines. His plan came less than 24 hours after he resigned, following raids on 2 of his homes by Ukraine's National Anti-Corruption Bureau.
Just hours ago, Andriy Yermak was expected to travel to Washington to hold negotiations on a peace deal between Ukraine and Russia with his American partners. In a shocking twist, the now former chief of staff of the president of Ukraine told the New York Post that his resignation from his post will be followed by a trip to the front lines.
I'm going to the front and I'm prepared for any reprisals. I am an honest and decent person.
But how did we get here? It all started with a crackdown on Ukraine's energy sector by the country's anti-corruption watchdogs, the National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine, or NABU, and the Special Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office, or SAP. The probe revealed a $100 million corruption scheme that involved current and former energy officials, a prominent businessman, government ministers, and a former deputy prime minister. A large chunk of the members of the criminal organization running this scheme consisted of close aides of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. This is where Andriy Yermak comes into play. A man so close to Zelenskyy, some would go as far as to call him his shadow, or even more.
He was the most powerful figure apart from Zelenskyy, and some even believe that Yermak was even more powerful and more influential than President of Ukraine. All key appointments, from Prime Minister and ministers to ambassadors, from regional heads to the top military brass, where all of these appointments had a hallmark and approval of Andriy Yermak.
Andriy Yermak got implicated in the anti-corruption probe following NABU raids on his apartment. Shortly after, his boss had this to say.
Andriy Yermak, the head of the president's office, has submitted his resignation. I am grateful to Andriy for ensuring that Ukraine's position in the negotiation process was always presented as it should be.
If the corruption allegations weren't bad enough, Yermak's resignation comes at a crucial time in the peace negotiation process between Russia and Ukraine.
He was extremely influential in the foreign policy field, and he was the main channel of communication, the main representative of Ukraine on American track.
As for Yermak's replacement on the negotiation team, things are also looking bleak.
As far as I understand, there is a new negotiating team recently announced by Zelenskyy. The problem is that he named a part of this team also Rustem Umerov, who is the head of National Security and Defense Council. The problem is that he is also under the investigation.
Now, back to Yermak's pledge to make his way to the front lines. The move resembles a similar career maneuver by one of history's most famous politicians, Winston Churchill, who famously decided to leave politics after the Gallipoli campaign and serve on the Western Front himself, effectively saving his political career.
It depends what the true nature is of Yermak's outcome of this investigation by NABU and SABU in Ukraine. Now, if he's guilty of absconding, then going to the front's not going to help him.
Whether or not the move has the same result for Yermak as it did for Churchill remains to be seen. However, even now, one thing is clear. Following Andriy Yermak's resignation, Kyiv has a massive personnel hole to fill, and time is short. For TVP World, Franciszek Pilis.
Hungary is facing strong backlash from Kyiv. Ukraine's Foreign Minister Andriy Yermak says Hungary is enabling Russia's attacks on Ukraine. This comes after Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán met with Vladimir Putin in Moscow. Kyiv says the visit goes against the stance of its Western allies at a time when Russia continues to strike civilians daily. Up next, our reporter Kazimierz Łysiak with the full story.
It's the second visit of Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán to Russia in 2 years. Hungary relies heavily on Russian energy, gas and oil, and that's how Orbán justifies his friendly relations with Vladimir Putin.
We did not succumb to external pressure and did not stop our cooperation in any of these important fields.
This pressure coming from Ukraine's Western allies, as purchasing Russian energy in bulk is allowing Moscow to continue its brutal invasion of Ukraine. Russia earns close to $500 million annually from sales to Hungary, making scenes such as these a daily reality. According to Ukrainian officials, Orbán is now partially responsible.
Putin once again used Viktor Orbán as an accomplice to his terror. Putin is simply using such politicians as actors in his bloody spectacle.
Orbán's European partners are not impressed either, albeit they're used to his antics by now.
I wish to remind our allies that NATO was created to defend the West against the Soviet aggression, that is, against Russia, and its foundation was solidarity, not egoistic interests. I hope that nothing has changed.
He is acting without a European mandate, and he is doing so without consulting us. That is nothing new. He has his own ideas about ending this war. So far, they haven't been realized.
Prime Minister Orbán is under mounting pressure domestically as well. That's Peter Magyar, the leader of the opposition party TISA, steadily rising in popularity. According to Politico's average score from various opinion polls, TISA is now comfortably in the lead with 47% ahead of the 2026 parliamentary election.
We have the absolutely unique situation that Orbán is facing a difficult election next year at home, and both the US and Russia want him to remain in office. Isn't that exotic?
In November, US President Donald Trump gave a one-year exemption to Hungary from the sanctions imposed on two of Russia's largest oil producers, Lukoil and Rosneft. For now, Budapest will continue benefiting from Moscow's deliveries, and vice versa. For TVP World, I am Kazimierz Łysiak.
The head of the Catholic Church, Pope Leo XIV, left the Vatican last Thursday to visit Turkey and Lebanon. His aim to call for unity and peace in the world. During the trip, the Pope met with some of the key figures of Turkish public life, including President Erdogan and Orthodox Patriarch Bartholomew.
Pope Leo XIV hopes that his first international visit will bring people closer together, encouraging them to focus on seeking unity rather than divisions.
With the presence of myself, of the Church, of believers in both Turkey and in Lebanon, we hope to also announce, transmit, and proclaim how important peace is throughout the world.
On the first day of the visit, the Pope arrived in Ankara, where he met with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Both leaders shared their hope for unity and a less violent world.
We are now experiencing a phase marked by heightened level of conflict on the global level, fueled by prevailing strategies of economic and military power. This is enabling what Pope Francis called a third world war fought piecemeal.
Our esteemed guests' calls for peace and dialogue between the nations are also extremely valuable for the success of diplomatic processes.
Following his meeting with the Turkish president, Pope Leo left for Istanbul in the evening. On Friday, he met with the representatives of Orthodox communities and local Christian groups to commemorate the 1700th anniversary of the Nicene Creed, a declaration of faith calling Jesus a true God.
The desire for full communion among all believers in Jesus Christ is always accompanied by the search for fraternity among all human beings.
On Saturday, the pontiff's trip reached its central moment when he prayed with the Orthodox Patriarch Bartholomew, who welcomed his arrival.
We believe that this first voyage will be a blessing upon your papacy, since you chose to begin it with this pilgrimage to Nicaea.
Allow me to begin by expressing my deepest gratitude for your warm welcome and your kind words of greeting.
Despite the show of good faith from both religious leaders, the arrival of the Pope to Istanbul was met with condemnation from the local youth groups, calling it a CIA and American-led plot against Turkey's sovereignty.
This is not a simple religious visit or meeting. It's a joint operation of the United States and the CIA. This is a crusade against Turkey and Russia and a project to violate Turkey's sovereignty. As Turkish youth, we will never allow these plans, which target the independence of Turkey and our nation, to pass.
Despite the protests, later that day, Leo went on to celebrate Mass in Istanbul's Volkswagen Arena, bringing thousands of worshippers together in the heart of Turkey. The Pope's pilgrimage will continue in Lebanon.
And the Catholic Church will on Sunday mark the start of Advent, the period of preparation for Christmas. On weekdays at dawn, Rorate Masses are celebrated in churches. The faithful attend these services with lanterns, while parishes organize retreats and days of recollection. Advent covers the 4 Sundays before Christmas. An integral part of the season is the 4 candles that are lit in turn on each Sunday of Advent, symbolizing hope, peace, joy, and love. In the past, Advent was associated with fasting. However, it is now a season of joyful anticipation. The Christmas season is here, at least in Warsaw, where the Polish capital's largest Christmas market ever has just opened. Waiting for tourists and the city's residents alike are local delicacies and a ride on Poland's tallest Ferris wheel. Aisha Bat reports.
Behind me glows a beautiful winter wonderland at the heart of Warsaw. This is the first full-scale Christmas market organized in Plac Defilat at the foot of the Palace of Culture and Science.
It's the first time there is a market like this in Warsaw. Usually there were smaller ones, for example in the Old Town. I'm really impressed. I've been living in Warsaw for several years, and honestly, this is something that really gives a wow effect, especially the Ferris wheel.
Warsaw finally has a Christmas market that could rival Europe's best, with room for more than 100 stands. And its location in the very heart of the city makes it easy for everyone to join the celebration.
I am living in Warsaw, and I think that for the first time Warsaw have a huge market with a lot of places, and I really like it. So many people.
And this is exactly what the city hoped for by choosing this location, turning a once ordinary urban square into a festive meeting point.
I think it's really nice that we can finally have something to be proud of when it comes to like Christmas events in Warsaw. So yeah, we are really happy about that.
But the market's biggest attraction, well, certainly the shiniest, might just be the Ferris wheel right behind me. And it's not just any wheel, it's the tallest one in Poland. So if you're trying to catch the holiday spirit, Warsaw might be the place for you. For TVP World, I'm Aisha Badja.
And that's a wrap for our news update, but don't go away, World Talks coming up next.